Hello, it's time for another devotion. I know it's been a while, but kids are finally back in school. I can actually sit and record in a little bit of peace. So I actually want to talk about Paul in 2 Corinthians chapter 12. This is where Paul has a vision, and then he talks about the thorn in his flesh. So Paul had this vision. He said it was about 14 years ago, and he went to paradise, and he didn't know whether he was in his body, outside of his body. All he knows was that he went to paradise and heard these great and astounding things that no human should be allowed to tell. Now, he could have boasted about this. He could have said, look, I'm this great and powerful person. God speaks to me, speaks through me. He gives me these great visions. Basically boasted himself up to try to be popular, or just to get praise from all these people, or just to have people acknowledge who he was. But instead, he's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to boast about this, even though I could, because it's not what I should do, and it makes me proud. So proud, and being proud, you can be proud of yourself in certain things, but if you become proud too much, or trying to show it off too much, then it does become a problem, and then you can actually fill up more of yourself than of God. So what God did was God actually put a thorn in Paul's side to keep him humble. And he says, he had given me a thorn in my flesh, a messenger from Satan to torment me and to keep me from becoming proud. So he did this, and then he actually asked God, and he begged the Lord 3 different times, Lord, please take this away, because I just can't deal with it. It's just too much. Each time he said, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. So now I am glad to boast about my weakness, so the power of Christ can work through me. That's why I take pleasure in my weakness, and in the insults, hardships, persecutions, and troubles that I suffer for Christ. For when I am weak, then I am strong. So sometimes we are given certain things that basically become a thorn in our flesh. It kind of keeps us a little bit humble. I don't know, for me, I was in my late 20s, about 28, 29 years old, when I found out I had rheumatoid arthritis. That's something I prayed, God, just take this away from me. I'm very, very young. Most people don't get this until they're older. It can be very debilitating. Once, damage happens to you, you can't reverse it. You can get to the point where you can't walk, use your hands, really function. And I really didn't want to go through this, because working in that area and seeing a lot of these patients, I could see how much it can physically affect somebody. So it's something you pray for healing for. God, I need you to heal me from this. I don't want this, praying over and over again. And God said, no, this is a ministry that you can actually use. So it's something that I've been able to use. And when patients would come in and, have a hard time with this, going through treatments for rheumatoid arthritis, and they're struggling with all this, that was something I was actually able to sit and talk with them about, and reach out to them and actually witness to them about. And they were going, well, you've got it. How are you so happy? How are you so doing this? And I said, because it's by the grace of God. It's in my weakness that I am made strong. It's through Him. And I was able to talk to them about that, and using my joy in the Lord that gave me the strength I needed to carry on each and every single day. So sometimes He will use what is the thorn in your flesh to actually be a witness to other people, and also to keep you humble. Because if you have no problems, have nothing that is going to be bothering you, then sometimes you can get boastful in those things, and it can be to your detriment. You can say, well, I really don't need God. I can do all this on my own. I can stand on my own 2 feet. I'm financially stable. I can go buy what I want. I don't ever have any problems. My health is perfect. And then you've come to find out you're not really needing God. You're not leaning on Him. You're not reading your Bible. You're not praying, because you feel like you don't need Him anymore. So sometimes He's going to give you that thorn in your flesh, so that you can kind of sometimes struggle, and you have to lean on Him a little bit more. It kind of sounds a little funny, but it's what we sometimes need. And you look at this as kind of a shepherd. So let's go back, and we're going to look at Psalms 23. And a lot of us read this or probably have it memorized. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Well, when you really study into a shepherd and what a shepherd does, it is very, very interesting. Because when you have a sheep that just constantly wanders away, And many times when sheep are eating or doing something, their head's down and they're just following the sheep in front of them, and they'll follow them wherever they go. So if you actually have a wandering sheep who's constantly getting lost, getting into places they shouldn't be, they're getting stuck, well, you're going to have a whole herd following this one sheep, and you could end up hurting the whole flock. You know, they could run off a ravine, and then you've lost all your flock down into, you know, they're no longer there. So sometimes that shepherd has to take that wandering sheep, bring them to themselves, and I know this is going to sound cruel, but they will break their legs. What that does is then the shepherd is taking care of that sheep. It will carry it on its shoulders, it feeds it out of its hand, it talks to it. So by the time those legs are healed, that sheep knows their shepherd or their master. And they're going to stand right there with them. They're going to listen to their voice because they know who has fed them during this time where they couldn't do it themselves. So sometimes if you're thinking, why am I going through this financial hardship? Why am I going through this a physical ailment? Why am I having this issue? Maybe sometimes it's God, you know, breaking our legs and saying, hey, I need you to come lean on me. I want you to listen to my voice. I want you to, I'm going to feed you. And so it doesn't always really make sense to us, but when we start to learn and lean on the master and we can hear his voice more clearly than when we're doing it on our own and we're wandering off, and not only we're hurting ourselves, but we're going to end up hurting other people because we are not listening to the master's voice. So sometimes we do have to go through things and have our legs broken in order to hear the master and to lean on the master. I know this is not something we always want to hear. Why am I going through this? Why God are you doing this? Why am I having why am I losing my house? Why am my kids, you know, the way they are? Why am I struggling physically? Why am I struggling with my health? Well, sometimes it is to bring us closer to him because we are falling to our knees, we are praying, we're reading our Bible, and we're beginning to listen more to his voice. And that's what he wants us to do, is to be able to hear him, because remember, he is our shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. He's going to take care of you. And sometimes this is how he has to take care of you, to make sure that you're not only safe, but the others around you are safe too. I know this was a long message, but I really wanted to get this out to you. Love you guys, and can't wait to start this up again.